Alright, we are discussing Patton Parnell, who's arguably one of the scariest spider people I have ever read about. So let's get started. Growing up, Patton would do experiments on small insects and also small animals. And while we don't actually know the true reasoning, we do know that Patton's uncle, Ted, would abuse him as he was growing up. Now next door there was a girl named Sarah Jane, and Patton would often look at her, aka spy on her. But one day she invited him to go to Alcorp, and he did. But he got very curious with one of the spiders and ended up getting bit. And he was brought home thereafter, but his uncle basically abused him when he heard about what had happened. The next day he woke up with an insatiable hunger and felt a lot stronger and even more energetic, but he ended up eating a mouse. Slowly he started to transform and even feasted on his Uncle Ted. Thereafter, Sarah Jane ended up in Patton's house. Type in part 2 for more. Alright, so last time, Sarah Jane had just entered the household of Patton Parnell, and when she looked around, she saw a whole lot of cocoons, and what was in the cocoons? A whole lot of people. So let's continue. Something to note that earlier in the story, Sarah Jane was looking for a character named Jean, which is why she ended up in Patton's household originally. Now, the reason why I mentioned this is because Patton eventually tried to kiss Sarah Jane, and then he ended up biting her. Now, we're going to come back to the bite in a little bit. Now, cutting back to the encounter, Sarah Jane is basically telling this grotesque and transformed version of Patton that, please stop, don't hurt me. And he's like, why would I ever hurt you? I need you. I know how much you love animals. And then he said, I learned something today, that I'm a carrier. As he was approaching her, a villain named Morloom took out Patton, and Sarah Jane got out. Now, even though Patton was gone, his children lived inside Sarah Jane. Alright, so I really wish the story continued, but unfortunately this was part of the Spider-Verse story, and Patton Parnell was basically a means to an end. But what we can do is discuss the powers of Patton Parnell from Earth-51412. So Patton has spider physiology, which allows him to do a couple of things very similar to Spider-Man, such as clinging onto walls, superhuman strength, durability, also regeneration. Also, in his initial transformation stage, he had fangs. But wait, actually, he still does have fangs. They're just way bigger. Like really big fangs. And something that we learned in his short run is that he has the ability to bite down and lay eggs in another person. In addition, he can also release a venom from his teeth to basically paralyze so that he could put his prey into a cocoon. Hope you enjoyed.